Precise targeting meets plush feel with the Wilson Clash 98 V2. Wilson adds another chapter to the Clash lineup with the Clash 98 V2. Featuring the smallest head size in the Clash family, this stick delivers pinpoint targeting on full cuts. It also packs a 327 swing weight, which provides enough mass to get the ball moving powerfully through the court. In addition to updating this racket with a 16x20 string pattern, Wilson has reinforced the upper hoop to create a more solid and responsive hitting surface. Overall, with a reinforced upper hoop and denser string bed, the Clash provides a modern racket experience with a comfortable feel. So right away I was excited to take this out on the court, and the first impression I had when I hit the ball was it definitely has a more of a responsive feel. Now the stiffness did go up to a 60 RA versus a 55 on the previous version, so that was immediately noticeable. Making contact with the ball had a little bit more feel to it. Now for me, I was actually coming off of a wrist injury during this play test, and I did notice that the V1 did have a more comfortable experience on court. So if you're somebody who's using a Clash mainly because they need the most comfort possible, just keep that in mind that this new version does have a little bit more response, and it may not be perfect for those who need just maximum comfort. As far as another key note, looking at the string bed, up at 10 and 2 o'clock, there's a huge difference versus the previous edition. They do have an extra cross. They changed it to a 16x20 pattern, and I really noticed that happen up at 10 and 2. Not necessarily kind of making that evenly distributed across the racket. It's mainly in that sweet spot at 10 and 2. That resulted in a little bit more of a higher shift of that sweet spot. So when I did hit in the lower area of the sweet spot, I noticed it could be a little launchy on me. And when I did hit in that higher sweet spot, it had a lower launch angle. So I really did actually enjoy the dense pattern on slices. I felt like it slices the ball very well, keeps the ball nice and low. For players who generally hit the ball really solid, have a really nice skill level, this is going to be a great racket if you're looking for a little bit more comfort in a modern player's racket. And I would highly recommend trying this one out. Maybe if you're an advanced intermediate to an advanced player looking for that comfortable experience with still a little bit more feel than maybe the previous version.
This playtest was a little bit of a roller coaster for me, even in each individual hitting session, in that there were some really nice moments, but then some off moments for me as well. First off, it's definitely an easy racket to use in that it offers good maneuverability. The power potential was definitely there, as was the spin potential. Definitely really easy to load up balls with a lot of topspin, hit those high loopy balls, get balls landing deep in the court. And the highlight for me when it came to spin was hitting slice. It was a shot that I could rely on, get good consistency out of. I could use it to set up points. I could use it on the defensive to get myself back into points. So definitely a favorite shot of the playtest for me there. Also then over on serves, I felt it was pretty effortless when you have that power potential and spin potential. It was easy to get those balls moving through the court as well as pick and choose my spots at ease. Where I did struggle with this frame was when it came to feel and some inconsistencies out of the string bed. So when it came to point play and being under pressure, I wasn't always having a clear read of how the ball was going to leave the frame, and therefore it was hard to get truly dialed in and always feel confident in my shot making. We did hit this side by side with the previous model, which did have a little bit more flex to it. I found I was getting a little bit more consistency out of the string bed and therefore a little bit more control and just a better read and feel for my strokes. And I found that one matched up a little bit better with my counter punching game style. But overall, I think if you're someone who's familiar with the playability of these Clash frames, you're going to find that same familiarity here with just some subtle updates in feel.
I was super excited to try the new Clash 98. Compared to the previous version, it definitely feels more controlled and it has more follow through, thanks to the added stiffness to the top of the racket head, which I actually really enjoyed. It does seem like the sweet spot shifted a bit higher up, which can be a plus or minus depending on the preference. If you hit the ball right at the perfect time at the perfect spot, you will be rewarded with this extremely plush, comfortable, slappy sensation, which is just super fun. However, if you hit the ball a bit outside the sweet spot, especially towards the lower half of the racket, it tended to feel like the ball kind of just died a little bit, so I had to adjust to that. And because of that, I kind of had the feeling that the sweet spot became a bit smaller as well compared to the previous version. My absolute favorite shot with the new Clash has to be the slice. It just feels extremely comfortable, super plush, and very controlled. When it comes to control, the new Clash 98 definitely feels more dialed in, which could be thanks to the new 16-20 string pattern. With the much more open string pattern of the previous version, I had to be mindful of the sometimes very crazy launch angle, but with the new one, it definitely felt more dialed in. The new Clash 98 is still a super fun, very easy to use racket, which I would still suggest for players who struggle with arm problems, but for them I would suggest to maybe go down a bit lower in tension or try the racket out with a hybrid string setup. For this review, we strung up the new Clash 98 with Luxeon Alupower Vibe at 52 pounds. For more information on this racket and many more, go check out Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe at Tennis Only.